If there was one marketing move that a construction tech company could make to give them an unfair advantage, what would it be?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people underestimate when they come to construction technology, especially from other industries, they don't understand the industry and how authenticity and relationships are extremely important and are the foundation of any successful deal. Pen and paper is still one of the largest competitors that Contact has.
Hmm.
Um, and like it still is. It's one of the biggest challenges of the industry still. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This industry hates bullshit. Um, so I think they can smell it and see it a mile away.
Hmm.
Uh, so being open and being transparent in how you do things, why you do things that are going to make their business better is extremely important.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Bricks and Bytes podcast, where we dive into construction and AEC technology. Before we get started though, if you're a startup founder or operator responsible for innovation in your company, or you want a deeper, more insightful look into technology in AEC, you won't want to miss our newsletter. From deep dives into particular technologies such as AI, robotics, design, software, and so on. Hot takes from investors betting big in AEC technology, and advice on building tech companies, including the stories and takeaways of the most successful AEC technology founders. Head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today to get this exclusive material straight to your inbox. And now for the episode.
And we will
Okay.
go. So, Kalyn, thank you for joining us. I think we have to mention this. I wasn't planning to do this, but you have such a unique second name that I think that
I
only
do.
people can only guess that somehow you and Chris, who at the time of recording this episode with you right now, will be being released on our channels if our team has got it sorted out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. It is a very, unique surname. So, yes, I am married to Chris Lengieza. A lot of people think we're brother and sister, which is kind of awkward too. It's like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
met your sister the other day." Not my sister. No, no. But you can blame him for me joining the industry. He's the one that pushed me into it a few years ago, and, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it when I married him, in all honesty, because of I see the work that he did when he was
Mm,
in construction. So, but yeah, that's my better half.
good. True hero flying through the ranks in Procore over there.
Oh man, what a guy! What a guy.
Hey, is
We're
he going for the CEO role?
I won't let him. No, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. That would be hilarious though, but no. No, 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 no,
Oh,
no, no,
oh
no.
man. I
We
would.
we we fly low.
Nah, fair enough. Yeah, that's a whole different lifestyle change, I guess.
A
Especially when you got
hundred
kids and stuff.
percent. It's so funny though because like what some of our friends in the industry will joke with us that we are the like contact power couple. So one year for Father's Day, I got him or the king and queen of construction tech. So I for one year for like Father's Day or something like that, I got him one of those like those canvases that you can put your face onto like a different figure like into like royalty or whatever. So I got him one that's like the king and queen and it's like our faces over top of it. It's
Nice.
hilarious. It's
Yeah, that's
hilarious.
cool. We should do some form of awards. By the way, there are more couples in construction
There
tech
are.
than you realize.
There are. It's so funny. I won't name names. There's a couple of
Yeah.
more that were, in Procore and things like that. But either people have met because of construction tech and have gotten married because of it, or have brought each other to the industry, kind of like Chris and I have. So it's pretty interesting, and listen, it's one of the coolest industries in the world. I think so.
Indeed. Okay, and today we're gonna find out how Kaylin you contribute, and my guess is there's something through the subject of go to market. Would I
A
be
little
right?
bit. A little bit, yes, yes, yeah, specifically marketing, but and product marketing is my jam. But yeah, I've been in marketing my entire career. I've done everything from work for big brand and luxury retail to automotive to small digital shops and things like that. So I just love tech, and I love tech marketing because it's so unique. And yeah, that's
Hard.
me. Hard, very hard, very hard. Listen, this is not an easy thing, especially for startups, because there's so much to understand, especially when you're building a business from the ground up and you're building a piece of technology from the ground up at the same time in a truncated time frame in, with limited budgets and limited funds. So it's not an easy path, but it's worth it in the end.
Okay, with that then, let's hit you with this question. So,
Okay.
yeah, if there was one marketing move that a construction tech company could make to give them an unfair advantage, what would it be?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people underestimate when they come to construction technology, especially from other industries, they don't understand the industry and how authenticity and relationships are extremely important and are the foundation of any successful deal, any successful, closed one opportunity. So being authentic in your messaging, in your positioning to who you're talking to in the industry, not getting overly techie in the jargon, and relatable kind of proof points and win points. And then, the real thing is like, and I think you and I talked about this at one point, it's like relationships matter in construction. This isn't just like a faceless industry where you go and you put in a credit card and people buy tech and start using it and it's all product led growth. It's very hard to get the growth in tech in the industry without growing the relationships as well. Knowing who you're serving, knowing who you're selling to and who's signing the check and making that connection as humans is extremely important still. Deals get done on the golf course. Deals get done at F1. Deals get done at NASCAR races. Like it's all deals get done in the job site trailer. So it's really important to remember the people behind what you're trying to sell and the deal that you're trying to complete, and really foster that relationship.
Yeah, 100% agree. And by authenticity, you mean deeply understanding like how your customer speaks,
Yes.
thinks, operates, and so
hmm
on and so forth. And then your messaging that you use within your marketing material directly reflecting that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Like using authentic language when you are talking about their pain points, right? Like, we sometimes in tech, because we start with our feature values first, and we want to highlight the features of a product to then identify the pain. We have to think about that in reverse and really understand, hey, how would somebody in the job site articulate this problem to us? And they would probably use some sort of expletive language. Don't put that in your marketing. But at least you can feel the frustration and how they talk about it and not try to add in, well, the aptitude of this piece of technology can do X for your business and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, I'm going to help you. This piece of tech will help you do X better so you can Y, and in their own language.
Very good. Okay, so we will dive into that a little bit more, I think. But it'd be good, Kalyn, to understand. Yeah, you are the. It's the right. How do you describe yourself? Is it owner of Grindstone Consultants,
Yep,
or
that's
yeah?
it. I am the owner. I am the owner.
And what kind of stuff do you get involved with day to day?
Yeah, great question. I am a Jill of all trades, so there is a lot that I get my hands into on a day-to-day basis. Everything from product market fit analysis and putting together messaging and positioning based on, personas, understanding TAM, SAM, SOM analysis, all the way to customer acquisition cost and how we discuss adoption rates and things like that. The lead pipeline metrics, pipeline velocity, sales velocity,
Oh, I got
all
them.
the fun things that get talked about between, and mostly I've worked in construction tech for the last almost 9 years. And I've worked with everything from seed startups all the way to large corporations. But now I'm focused more on like seed ABC sized organizations at the moment.
Mm. How do you drive your customer acquisition cost near to zero?
Me for
Startup.
Grindstone.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah. So I've been very fortunate that my husband has been a great connector for me in the industry. He's introduced me to a lot of people, but also just through my relationships that I've built in the history of Grindstone and being consulting. Like I've been very fortunate that a lot of people have referred me to other customers in my history. So it's been great for me to help that. Like I really not had to do a lot of crazy prospecting for myself. And, so my customer acquisition cost is pretty low.
No, we are so many people, like, and specifically very successful founders within this space. How you got your first 10 customers, and nearly 80% of the time, maybe even 100% of the time, honestly. I just don't want to say 100% because that's a bold statement, but it's probably
It's a
true.
bold statement. Yeah.
That is maybe true, is that they get their first customers because they were in the industry and they already had an existing network.
100%. And that is extremely important in construction tech and construction tech marketing. Referral marketing is probably one of the pillars that should be like a backbone of your plans because you never know who's going to need what when. So creating that network and creating that spider web of people that then, hey, I used your tech at this business, so I'm going to take it with me to the next one. You never know when that's going to happen. So always be willing to connect, meet, network, all those kind of good things because it's extremely, extremely beneficial.
Being here, there, and everywhere. What would you say,
Absolutely.
Kalyn, that you have a specific unique take or area? I mean, you mentioned marketing, product marketing, but is there a
Mhm.
unique take within that you have developed since doing Grindstone?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to put the customer at the center of everything I do, no matter what, and understand where they're going, what they're doing, how they think about it. That's why like product marketing has been such a big piece of the puzzle for me in my career. I love talking to this industry. I love talking to customers. I love hearing about their problems. I know that sounds crazy, but I do. Um, very, very much a therapist in that respect. But just because it gets you really understand how they're thinking and what they're thinking about and what gets them excited versus what makes them angry. So that's like one of the core things that I try to do every day with my customers and with my clients is, hey, let's make sure we're putting customer at the center of everything in how we position, in how we build, in what we're going after. It's really, really important. And this industry, because it's so difficult to market to and gain those relationships, it's even more of a critical factor to help you be successful quickly.
Very good. Are there any ways that or what maybe specific tools people can use to not replicate but to make sure that they are as close to the customer as possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so you mean from like a SaaS perspective, like in their tech stack or
Yeah.
as far as like
Maybe I can give you an example of what I've heard before is that people within product marketing may look at like sales transcripts from Gong or whatever it might be.
oh yeah. Oh
Uh,
my gosh. Gong, I could talk to you for an hour about Gong.
yeah.
That tool has been a game changer for people like me because listening to those call transcripts and things like that is extremely important. And it gives you the velocity instead of listen, like historically, I would have to go call every single customer and have these conversations. But if I get a good sales transcript or a good sales call that I can listen to or put some AI against, that's a huge win for me
Mm.
and for any company. Um, I say to my clients all the time, hey, send me any sales calls you got because I want to listen. I want to hear how you're positioning. I want to hear what's landing, what's not, because then you can go articulate that back in the messaging if there's tweaks you need to make. I think artificial intelligence and LLMs and things like ChatGPT have been uh, an amazing opportunity for any marketer and any business, because it helps you get to that, first line of defense, and that, pardon my French, that shitty first draft of like anything. But also you can upload transcripts, and you can upload, in some cases recordings of things. And I think Gong also has AI in it that gives you all of these highlights and lowlights. But once you've gotten like an LLM that you've trained on your processes, or trained in how you speak, and trained in how you want to position and your tone of voice and your brand, uploading that data and that information into that helps spit out a really cool artifact that you could potentially use in your marketing. So it's like, say, okay, and I use AI every single day. So I have trained some of my LLMs to think like my clients, their brands, their, all those things. And I start talking to it and say, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm a superintendent at a, $500 million general contractor. These are my pain points. These are the problems I'm having. I am going to give you this line of copy. Help me articulate it into the right way that would make sense to the superintendent. There you go. Like, it helps get you to a quicker draft, and move faster, because that's one of the most important things is velocity, right? Right now, especially for startups, like, you got to move quick.
Yeah.
So AI and things like Gong help you do that.
Yeah, massively. When we spoke last time, Kalyn, you mentioned that you had this time, talent, treasure framework. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, one of the challenges that I know startups face is that, listen, like, their time is scarce, because they are either the CEO and the head of sales and HR and potentially chief product officer and. Um, their talent is who they are and, what they do and things like that. But then the treasure is their budgets, right? Um, so what I challenge my customers on is, hey, like, it's time, talent, or treasure. Which one are we willing to move on right now to help us get to where we're going to? And some examples of that is like, it's all like resource allocation. And, so time is like, okay, we have a certain cycle in construction tech between 6 to 18 months, right? So for our owners and our GCs and things like that, we've got to be hitting them throughout that entire life cycle. So the time quotient is like, okay, if you have 10 hours in a day as a CEO, are you going to spend how much time creating content? Or are we going to put your talent to that? Or are we going to outsource it? And use the treasure there. Hey, like, sometimes with like events, it's all three, right? It's a time, talent, and a treasure. But figuring out the payoff and understanding if there is an ROI on that time, talent, and treasure is extremely important as well. So, I think a lot of startups they bite off more than they can chew. So if you take a second and say, hey, is this time, talent, or treasure that I'm going to be able to expend on this, and really focus how we're going to go to market and how it's going to help us build our sales pipeline or whatever, then it helps understand what's a priority.
Okay, so you may look at like specific elements within the go-to-market motion that need to happen, and decide whether like you're gonna hire, do it yourself, or what was
Yeah.
the third one was use external consultants.
Or use a resource within the company, right? Like, or yourself as the resource. So like, it's, hey, we can get it done fast, but it's going to be bad and it's going to cost us a lot of money. We can take longer time, and we're going to do our research and make sure that we have the right things, and it's not going to cost us a lot of money. Just having those kind of candid conversations about what you're willing to put into a certain program or a certain campaign and things like that. Especially like most startups, like the CEOs are marketing, early in the early stages. So just understanding where you can really put your best time, talent, or treasure
Yeah.
forward. And a lot of it, in all honesty, is content development, time, talent, or treasure. It's, hey, am I going to use my own time on this? Is it worth it to me to sit down and build out 10 blog posts, or can I outsource this with a little bit of, help?
Mm,
AI has definitely helped truncate some of those times, but things like that.
interesting. So, yeah, how then do you advise like early stage companies? Let's say specifically that they have like very limited resource and like the
Hmm.
CEO is responsible for everything. Um,
Yeah.
how do you help them sort of prioritize where whether it could be producing content or maybe they're out better doing sales in the field or maybe they are more product focused and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
how do you what's your advice for people there?
It's the, prioritization of impact of velocity, right? Like, it's how quick can I get closer to the customer? Is me right now spending 5 hours writing blogs going to get me closer to the customer right now? Or should I be out meeting with my customers right now? Or should I be at this event? You got to have those like constant rolling conversations on the prioritization. Um, and then, it's the it's the understanding and allocation of resources and really having a gut check and a hard conversation with yourself about, is it going to bring me the return that I need? Right? Is it really going to bring me the connections that I need in the industry? Is it going to foster additional relationships for my deals? Is it going to build better brand awareness for my business? Those are some of the customer like questions you can, ask yourself. And then also, one of the things that you need to really think about is like, is the market ready? And is that prioritization of what we're going after in this market ready? So, like, that's another piece of that, like, prioritization analysis, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess you don't want to be doing something that well, like doing new stuff in construction. You know, typically how that pans out. It doesn't just change over.
Yeah,
Well, it can take very long time.
it
Um,
does. It does. But the industry's worth it. Keep at
Yeah,
it.
well, 100%. How about like prioritizing your marketing and sales initiatives in the early days? Like are there specific things that people should be doing at different stages? Like or
Mhm.
perhaps maybe my question more is around like how do you know what you should be doing? Like
Yeah,
should you test? Should you just is there something that always works? Like I
a
guess the answer is no,
100%.
but yeah.
Yeah. So, I said this the other day to a client that marketing is the scientific method come to life. It literally is being willing to test and iterate all the time. You're going to have those things that will work, and you're going to have things that you have to either go out on a limb on and try it and be willing to fail, and then but learn from it and move forward. So, like, I would say for like early stage startups, very early, right? Focusing on those direct relationships is extremely important, right? So, like, taking the time to go and meet customers where they're at, understanding your market, understanding who you're selling to, leveraging your own time to build that like initial thought leadership for your business and build that content around, why you're different and why what you offer the industry is different in their lens and in their mentality. Um, Being willing to work with companies and bring them on, maybe sometimes for free, to help uh, guide your product and be those early alpha testers and be those companies that are willing to go and grow with you. And then, working with partners, right? Like, working with partners in the industry, integrating to the tools that people use every day, the Autodesk, the Procores, the other things out there that, can help get you some of that visibility, but also is the tools that everybody uses for the most part, or, can create those relationships for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some of the bigger SaaS companies and bigger startups, still startups, like, but later funding, starting to understand your sales teams and aligning them to verticals or audiences. And then that helps, you differentiate your messaging and your positioning, and it gets a little more dialed in, a little more strategic or surgical in how you approach your outbound sales, your marketing, and things like that. That's when you can start discussing, hey, this channel makes sense for us as a business. Do we want to start partnering with resellers? Do we want to start, doing that kind of a thing? Obviously enterprise is a big thing for any SaaS companies, but there is a certain stage where it makes sense to go after those larger GC, SE owners that, are the biggest of the bigs. And, automation processes are huge from a marketing perspective. Like every lead goes through a nurture when they come inbound. And that's some of the things that I'm trying to make sure that all of my customers now have like at least a general good nurture program early, because sometimes, some of these larger companies can do larger automation and do a lot of big bang for your buck things, but even just a general nurture campaign when you bring in a customer can help, keep that knowledge in forefront of your brand in their mind. So
That's a very interesting point. I actually always find that personally interesting. It's like, yeah, how do you maintain that continuous touch point with people? Because I guess people want to
yeah.
be seen and heard.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, what do
So
you use for that? What are some of the specific tools?
yeah, love HubSpot. Used HubSpot for a lot of years because you can connect the content right to the contact basically and see what they're interacting with and all those kind of good things. Um, from like a CRM perspective and an outbound perspective and lead nurturing and that kind of thing, Apollo.io is a new tool that I am hot on right now. It's a great platform and it's all AI based. Um, there's some other things out there that help, and things like that. But like from the automation standpoint, it's really interesting and, for pre-event and post-event to get people into nurtures and understanding, hey, we're going to be at this event. We're sending people, letting them know, hey, if you're going to be there, come say hi, all those kind of things. But then even just throughout, look, the sales life cycles in construction tech can be 6 months to 18 months to longer, depending on what it is. So you have to keep that forefront top of mind. And it's a lot easier when sales and marketing are in close alignment and understand, hey, who are we going after? Why are we going after them? And are there people that look the same? So with automation, things like one of the things for my clients right now I'm big on is account-based marketing. And
Mm.
basically what that is, you're figuring out who those customers are that you want to have in your business and you feel or you've seen success with your product, right? So you go and find ones that look like them. And then you speak to them about their pains and their problems, and you put them into specific marketing nurtures that make sense for them by persona. So that's a big way to help figure out how to build nurture programs and where to build them and what for. And the tools you can use early, like I think even HubSpot is very minimal cost to start.
Mm.
But even just sending something out once a month, you may not be able to do automation yet, but the kind of the baseline metrics I tell my clients is 2 blogs a month on their website of some form of content, a case study a quarter if you can, and at least one customer touch point a month. And I think we're going to talk about social media at some point, but also using social as an asset too.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great little cadence to like have something to aim toward. I personally, yeah, I'm a fan of email marketing because it's like you get straight into the inbox of people, and you know how we all operate massively in
Hmm.
our emails. And if
Yeah.
something's worth reading that pops up in your email inbox, you're probably gonna read it. So if you're producing good content and you want to maintain touch points, like it feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's extremely important as like one of the arrows in your quiver, right? Like it has to be one piece of the larger multi-threaded integrated channel approach for marketing. Because what has started to happen is some of these email providers are getting smarter. Like Microsoft
Oh
knows
yeah.
if you're spam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes to the spam inbox. So you got to be also understanding that, hey, it may not be a lead windfall from an email, but at least if I'm getting my brand back in front of their eyeballs for a minute, it helps. Same with doing digital ads, right? Like, this is not like any other industry. You can't just flip on Google ads or Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads and expect all of the leads to come in. You got to nurture. It's again, like the account-based marketing. It's, you turn it on to keep getting the eyeballs and making sure that you are reminding people of who you are for a new lead, or reminding people of who you are during their sales cycle, because that's just as important.
Hey listeners, I want to take a quick break to remind you about the Bricks and Bytes newsletter. If you're interested in learning about the technology shaping the future of construction, you won't want to miss the valuable insights we share each week. To get this exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox, head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today. Link is in the show notes. Back to the show.
Yeah, touch point every point. What's some tools, Kalyn, for testing? Like, are there some frameworks perhaps, or are there like a length of time you should run an experiment before you draw a conclusion? Is there like is there perhaps an allocated sum of money you should test on a certain channel before determining success or not?
Depends on the size of the business, in all honesty, and the length of time that you can run. A lot of the smaller startups with limited budgets and limited time, testing in a 30-day increment and then making adjustments and saying, hey, like, actually this is not good, or, oh, it could work, but let's give it a little more time. Some programs, between 3, 4,000, 5,000 a month could potentially help move the needle, but it's all back to those main goals, right? What are the strategic things we're going after and trying to drive, and the KPIs and metrics that you're tracking to do it. So is your goal to get more eyeballs to your website? Is your goal to get more leads? Is your goal to get additional uplift in your usage? Like, what are you trying to do? And then what's great about things like LinkedIn and Google, like, you can get pretty close to the audience you want to go after from the ad perspective, but I don't see those as a first line of defense in marketing for this industry. I see it as an additional arrow in the quiver that you use as an additional touch point. So, like, if you're running LinkedIn ads to, let's say, I'll give you just a company off the top of my head. Let's just do Skanska, right? So you're going to potentially have ads on LinkedIn directed to that company. You're going to have an email campaign that is directed to that company. You're going to have an outbound campaign from your sales and SDRs, if you have them, to that company. Everything is going to match in the language, in the positioning, in the messaging, in the content you're using. So you're creating this little cyclone of information that matches at that specific company to help them understand why you are an option for their business. And it's, it seems daunting, but once you do it once and have that, there's this like graphic of Charlie Day from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he's like standing in front of a whiteboard, and he's got like all these like ropes and things like it. It's like this, and I show that to my clients all the time, because that's what we're doing. We're getting crazy and figuring out this mind map of, hey, the end goal is we want this person as a customer. So let's see them at an event. And when we talk to them at the event, we're talking about productivity rates in the industry and how we can help do this. When they see an ad, they're seeing reduce your product or increase your productivity rates and blah, 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 blah. They see a blog that is all about increasing productivity rates and why the challenges are there. All of it matches. All of it has the same tone. All of it has the same common threads. And then it's just like, oh, okay, it's this little cyclone around that customer.
I'm almost certain before that I read this thing, which said you need around 15 touch points before someone decides to make a purchase with you. At least, perhaps 15.
And if you think about it, what if you're taking those 15 touch points to the wrong person? who's
Yeah.
not the decision maker, right?
Waste of time.
So that, they could be an influencer, they could be, somebody in the organization, but has nothing to do with the project. So you got to be willing to not spray and pray. That's an awful phrase. Like, that is, do not do that. Be methodical in who you are targeting with what or why. And that gets into like understanding the personas and understanding the business challenges and things like that.
Cool. Okay, so how do you win at product marketing?
Do you win?
Yeah, what's the magic?
How do you win? Oh man. You win at product marketing by, listen, there's a bunch of different ways you can understand if you're win. If a piece of content helps move a deal forward, if the messaging you put in an ad increases the clicks, if a landing page that you've developed based on a persona is getting more form fills. Those are ways that you win at product marketing. And ideally, it's all about putting the customer at the center of all of it, right? If you create messaging and positioning that then end up growing your pipeline, end up increasing your deal velocity, that's the win. You're getting the customers to understand your product through the lens of their own pains. And that's the win for product marketing.
Very nice. So then maybe the question is, how do you do that?
You get to know your customers. That's the biggest thing, right? And especially early stage startups, tend to lead with feature first in their messaging and their positioning. By taking a beat and doing a cycle with customers and doing a cycle with industry friendlies or prospects or whatever, and really getting into their psyche and getting into their pains helps you be better at that messaging and positioning. So like, it may seem like it's taking a lot of time away from what your goals are, but in the end, if you do that first and you understand those problems first, and then put that into your positioning and your messaging and getting to know them, and like even the channels they use for marketing, how do they learn? C-suite, probably not on Instagram, maybe, but not as much probably. They're going to be on LinkedIn, they're going to listen to podcasts, they're going to read the news, right? Versus, hey, a superintendent, Facebook all the way. If that's who you're looking to target, Facebook 100%. Or sponsoring NASCAR or whatever it might be, depending on the budget, So it's getting strategic and taking the time to understand who you're really talking to then go and build your campaigns around it.
Very good. What would you say are some of the mistakes, like from a positioning perspective, that companies make? Yeah.
Okay, so I think one of the biggest problem is that we, especially for people that come out of the industry, the technology features versus like big business outcomes get prioritized in messaging and positioning. So selling the sizzle before selling steak. And one of the other problems that is a big deal with our industry is change management. So like, what I see happening that is the industry is getting better at, and SaaS companies are getting better at, is understanding the level of lift and the implementation that's needed to bring on a piece of tech, right? They basically have to stop what they're doing, and they don't have time to do that, to train a new piece of technology. So, understanding those implementation concerns up front seems to be somewhat of a challenge. But if you're positioning the ability, again, like time, talent, treasure quotient, right? Like, it's getting to understand these customers' needs and how hard is it to really bring on your platform. If it's going to take them a really long time to get the payoff, they're not going to do it. And like, why would the field want to do it, right? So that's it. And then one of the other big ones is like failing to differentiate from good enough, and just historical processes, pen and paper is still one of the largest competitors that Contech has. And like it still is. It's one of the biggest challenges of the industry still. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But it's the like, what is the operational impact, the financial return, or the strategic advantage that this customer could potentially get by displacing good enough? And you know, Bob handles it. It's good. What we've got is fine. It's understanding how your product is of value to them to displace that. And now, like, listen, like, our industry has gotten much better with tech. COVID was, I hate to say it, was a huge help in the advancement of technology in the industry, because it came out of a need, right? So, like, what are the needs that these businesses have that would make them adopt your piece of tech, instead of just staying with good enough?
So are there like any frameworks for getting the messaging right when you're describing your product? Because maybe it gets boring for our listeners to hear this, but we always moan that yeah, just sometimes the wording is off, or companies claim to have this amount of ROI or
Yeah.
time saving per employee or something like that. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, what's the formula if there is such a thing?
Yeah, I guess you have to really take a look at, again, like who you're positioning to. Like, yes, there's frameworks. There's frameworks out there, wazoo, for positioning and messaging, and they're all on the internet, and you can use one that works for you 100%. But for me and my clients, it's the um, what this product does, who is it for, what challenges does it offset, and understanding the return and then the advantage they'll have as a business for using it. So like, okay, how is this going to challenge your operation? What operational impact are you going to have? What would your financial return be on using something like this? And then what was the strategic advantage of doing it? Now, I will say there was a time, still happens a little bit, where the challenge was insert construction tech company here, because we were all saying the same things: productivity, financial, ROI, operations, like the same words, right? So it's really critical that in those conversations with your customers and understanding their pain points, and that you're bringing that to light in your messaging and positioning, especially on your website and your emails, things like that, because you need to be able to say that, hey, I'm better than X, or I'm better than Y, or I'm better than good enough. So doing that in a framework for, whatever audience you're going after is extremely important.
Very nice. I was going to ask, yeah, okay, let's go there, because you mentioned it earlier about the various. Well, you alluded to it earlier about the various people involved within a sales process. So you have
Yeah.
champions, influencers, decision makers,
Mhm.
financial gatekeepers, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
How do you then adjust your messaging and your entire, I guess, campaign to make sure you're touching all of these people within like let's just say a campaign?
Yeah, great question. So, okay, so let's put our mentality into a chief innovation officer at a GC. Okay, so I'm going to have a different value prop and message for that persona, specifically in the industry, that is going to focus on integration, security, scalability, and those kind of things, compliance, right? And then as far as like the what and the campaign, it's a multi-threaded approach. It's email, it's outbound sales scripts and pieces of content, perhaps white papers, perhaps a technical understanding of the capacities of the product and what they can do and the integrations and how it's scalable and what it's built on. like, oh, we're built on AWS and all the other pieces and parts. How are we encrypted? That as a white paper, right? It's going to be podcasts such as yourselves and things like that. It's going to be going to events like, oh gosh, there's a specific IT conference that I forget the name of off the top of my head. I'll think about it, but
There's so many. I don't know.
I know. Oh gosh, Jeff Sample will kill me because I can't remember the name of it.
You can be forgiven
But
because I honestly do not think they're in the whole industry. Well, I don't know much about other industries, honestly, but I've never heard of such a event dense industry than construction. It's like every even like some of the event providers, they just have like 10, 15 events under their own label. And then something becomes trendy and they're like, oh, okay, let's create the AI event or let's create the pre-construction event and so on and so forth. So you can be forgiven for forgetting.
and I know. Well, and that's, you know what, not to segue, but like that is a huge problem for startups because they don't know
Yeah.
what to go to
Yeah.
or what's going to pay off the value for them because it is such an event dense industry because we are such a personable industry. So like partnering with the ABC, partnering with the AGC and understanding, the areas that you want to go after, things like Autodesk University, things like Procore Groundbreak, like all of the Hanson Wade conferences, like knowing your niche and knowing your persona and who you're going after is so critical to identify those conferences and why you would want to go there. So like if CIOs are you're in, then going to that IT conference or going to like advancing construction technology or things like that are extremely ENR Future Tech, extremely important. If you're trying to meet more field focus, World of Concrete, awesome, all day long, go to World of Concrete. Like if you want to meet the field, like, and not be on the job site with them, like World of Concrete is one of the best events to do that at. And then sorry, not to segue, but back to like value propositioning and like campaigns, for like a CEO, it's the same kind of thing. Like, okay, what are the peer groups we could attend and speak at and get our message out in front of them? Their email is getting read by their assistant. So that's not necessarily a quick win way to get in the door.
Maybe you could find out who their assistant is, no? And send them
100%. That is a way. Like, drop mail, send something, right?
I've done that before.
I have too. It works. It works, especially if you get into a pain point and send something that makes sense for that business and makes sense for that end user. Super helpful. So, really understanding the persona helps you drive those campaigns and those channels that you use for each of them.
Okay. We have so many. I feel we've gone through like 1/10 of the sheet that I have in front of me so far. So I'm like, where do we go next? But maybe because you mentioned it earlier, and we can talk about perhaps some metrics, like
Okay.
because it's very difficult, right? In to know which metrics to to track perhaps and to focus on, and perhaps what some of this stuff means. So I don't know, very open question, but if you could just explain like your thinking behind metrics, KPIs. In fact, even one person, very successful sales leader, was like, I don't really take notice of the metrics. I just let the sales do its thing. So I found that very fascinating. And they've had great success in their career.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it all depends on the goals of the business. Now, in some cases, we are, couple rounds of funding, you got to make a certain sales rate to be attractive and have those growth rates and those low customer acquisition costs, and marketing and sales is an expense to customer acquisition costs. So unfortunately, we got to be careful there. But, some of the like specific metrics to really track, listen, is pipeline. Leads generated in pipeline, MQL, SQL, SAO. Those are my three faves. So MQL is a marketing qualified lead. So basically it came in through marketing somehow, either through an event or through a website, whatever. And it got past a certain threshold that is qualifying it as a marketing qualified lead. Either in HubSpot, actually, you can set this up that like, hey, this person came to our website, they read 3 pieces of content over a certain amount of time and then submitted a lead form. Okay, that ding, 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 it's scored as a marketing qualified lead. Sales qualified lead means that is something that sales has said, hey, you know what? Actually, this marketing qualified lead does make sense for us and is going to go through a discovery process or whatever. And then a sales accepted opportunity means, hey, like they're actually interested in our product. We're going to go through a whole vetting and a whole, sales cycle and a sales funnel with them, from the marketing funnel all the way through to the sales funnel. So those are some of the ones that I pay attention to with my customers, because also it helps me understand as a marketer, where do I need to build content to help move things forward? Where do I need to adjust my spend so that we are getting the right amount of pipeline at the top to help get the sales goals? And so like, say like, hey, I have $1 million sales goal this year. Okay, I need to build at least 4 to 5 times that in pipeline opportunity, to get, that closed one sale of $1 million, end of year of $1 million ARR. So figuring out those metrics is fun. For me, I love getting into the data and getting into the numbers, because then that also tells us, hey, this is how much volume we need to do. This is where marketing is going to help us drive this opportunity and move everything forward. Now, there's also the revenue protection metric. Then like once a customer is closed won and on board, it's like making sure they don't churn. So understanding that they are adopting well and that they're using the product. Are they a reference customer? That's a metric, right? Are they speaking for us at various conferences? Like that's a metric. So, understanding all of those things is super important.
And I guess the ones that you pay attention to depends on your priorities. Would that be a correct statement?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, like, listen, LinkedIn engagement rates, we can track all day. Email opens, we can track all day. None of it matters if we're not creating the pipeline and getting the sales. So, I could send out 500 emails and have an open rate of 50%. So 250 people opened it. But if not one of them clicked through and filled out a lead form and became pipeline, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Those vanity metrics don't matter.
Yeah.
I know. Like, listen, they're they help us identify if we're doing well or not, but they're not the ones that are going to drive the business forward. And that's the pipeline and the sales and all that kind of good stuff.
What's your thoughts on? We had a discussion with someone the other day that brought up a great point that effectively they said that anyone can generate leads, but like the best people are able to generate like qualified leads that are like essentially ready to buy, so it makes the sales team job easier. Like how do you ensure that your marketing efforts actually generate like anyone, like almost to what you said earlier, like just now you can get 50% open rate in your newsletter, but if it all just goes, no one clicks to fill out the lead form, then
Yeah. 100%. And I think that's part of the challenge early in life of a tech company is like getting leads just to get leads means nothing, right? Like I could be targeting the complete wrong company or industry or even, anything in that regard, right? So if it's trash leads, it's going to produce trash results. So the leads you want and who we're going after and the titles that we want is like really core to understand as a business early to make sure that it does, align with the sales goals and align with what we're doing as a business, and everybody's in, there's that kumbaya moment. But it's also marketing's jobs to understand that pain point and to understand the frustrations that customer is going through and that prospect is going through, and delivering the content that makes them convert, right? To make sales' job easier. We have shown that we understand the problem that they're feeling. We understand the industry. We have shown that we have a option to get them to their solution in this product. We have shown and highlighted a few key points of the product that would alleviate some of their frustrations on a day-to-day basis. And we have teed it up very easily for them to get information about the product or see a demo or know that this could be an option for them. Like, those are the ways that we could tee up a sale for our sales teams and make sure that all of that in concert is getting the customer more aware. And, understanding the buyer's journey is just as important as understanding the sales journey. There's a great book by Donald Miller called Building a Story Brand. And it goes through kind of the hero's journey, right? Yep. And how you should be putting your customer at the center of everything. And they are on the journey, not you. They're going through this trial and tribulation and trying to get to the promised land. And they have ups and downs and things like that. And then your product is at the end to help them with that, or as a tool in that journey. So that's one that I recommend my clients read, because it helps frame why we do what we do and how we do it.
Very good. Yeah, I have read it. Great book.
It's a great book. Yeah.
Okay. What's the best channel that exists to your customers, digital and offline?
Oh,
it's a bit of a trick question, by the way. So don't
I know
feel
it's
like
a
you have
trick
to.
question. Podcast, of course. The Bricks Bytes podcast.
Yeah.
Well, no. So, okay, listen. Our ability as humans to consume content is getting shorter and shorter. And so writing long form content, while it's extremely important from a research perspective, it doesn't get the attention as quick as these shorter form kind of videos. So things like, I hate to say it, but like TikTok and, the short videos you can do on LinkedIn and things like that are extremely important. Again, an arrow in your quiver as a piece for that. And, as part of that whole like ABM, like account-based marketing as a piece of the puzzle, I cannot and will not discount in-person events. And though like it seems antithetical in an industry when we're trying to reduce, in sales and marketing, when we want to get the velocity and get the leads without spending as much money. But I will say, like, you potentially will meet the key decision maker at an event, or you will meet somebody that works closely with them, or whatever it might be. It's a great channel for that. And networking just in general, like going to the lunch and learns, going to the breakfasts and things like that is still a huge win as a channel for marketing, for getting your brand out there and getting your company understood and your products out in the market.
Have you seen any particular channels that have like recently risen to popularity?
Podcasts for sure. Definitely as a tool. Everybody shares them when they learn something interesting. I would say email marketing, though it's still critically important, is not as easy as it used to be. You can't just get to inboxes anymore. So you have to be strategic in what you're putting in emails as a piece of that. But risen to popularity, I would say, yeah, probably these like, and it's an interesting channel, but like these peer groups and things like that is a great opportunity if you can get involved, and be part of that. And like even things like ABC, AGC, and partnering with them on more of a local level.
Penetrating the inner circles.
The market. Perhaps. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, look, I think we're pretty much out of time. So talking of AI, you mentioned it earlier. I went on before we'd done this, and it gave me some wild card question. I don't even know if the question is answerable or not, but let's see, because I have done this before, and like when asking it, like or halfway through reading the question, been like, okay, this makes no sense. Hopefully the person receiving it knows what it means, because I don't really. And then
Yeah.
secondly, sometimes the responses have been like, oh, this question makes no sense. And then it becomes very awkward. But hey, I'm going to give it a go anyway. So it says, the construction tech landscape is getting increasingly crowded. Well, okay, I can agree with that. If you could
I do agree
redesign
with
the
that.
entire go-to-market playbook for AEC tech companies from scratch, what radical change would you make that flies in the face of conventional wisdom, but would be a game changer? It's so
Um,
difficult.
it's so difficult. Don't keep your secret sauce a secret.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is if you have a proprietary way, now I'm not saying share a trade secret or anything like that, or put your code out on the internet or
Mm,
anything like that. But if you have a specific playbook or metrics on success, share it. Have it as part of your sales cycle. Bring it to the front of your marketing. Because it all leads to how you are a partner to the industry and really are wanting to promote the success of their business. So don't, shy away from the resources that you have at your fingertips to help make them successful as
mm,
part of your marketing and part of your um, implementation process or anything like that.
okay, yeah, nice. So you think that people see that you're giving back and you naturally become more likable? Is that perhaps the angle you're coming from?
It's all in the spirit of transparency and being a transparent company and being a transparent partner to the industry. Again, sorry for the language. This industry hates bullshit. Um, so I think they can smell it and see it a mile away. So being open and being transparent in how you do things, why you do things that are going to make their business better is extremely important to building that great relationship with the business.
Mm, very good. Okay, Karen, I think we're like right at the end now. So thank you so much for coming with us. Could you tell people where
Of
they
course.
could find out more about you?
Yes. You can find me on my website, grindstoneconsultants.com. LinkedIn, Kalyn Lengieza. There's me. And if you see Chris Lengieza at some sort of conference somewhere around the world, he'll usually talk me up for a minute or two. So
Cool. Okay, Karen, thank you so much.
thanks, Owen.
All right.